Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Welcome back. Welcome aboard. Yes, tonight is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. This is live stream 1199. Oh my. Yep, tomorrow night will mark our 1200th live stream. Be sure to tune in for that because there are going to be giveaways galore. But you have to be watching live. I'll mention that again a little bit later on in the show. Of course, if you're not overly familiar with this show, let me point out it's super casual around here. Simply talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then I will usually take a first look at what the hell? It's like my stung. See, there we go. My tongue got stuck. It's like, what the? So normally I will unbox a board game like I am doing tonight. More often than not, I'll take a peek at a role-playing game release. Or every once in a while, I'll just pontificate about a topic related to our hobby. But it is certainly not any sort of rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination around these here parts, especially as I stumble over the simplest words of English, as you can see. Anyway, welcome aboard, everybody. Of course, when you're not watching videos here on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, if you happen to like the Gaming Gang and you'd like to become a member of our Patreon, there is a link to that down in the show notes. As also, you will find an invite to our Discord server so you can come hang with the gang. And of course, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. You do have to be a subscriber to the channel for at least 10 minutes to take part. And it's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. You know, we don't get that many oddballs popping on into chat, but you'd be surprised that 10 minutes of waiting around sometimes will dissuade the stranger contributors out there. So very nice. Yes. So first out the gate tonight, let's see, we've got our good friend of the show, the Madman, who also happens to be one of our chat moderators. Semper Buffo is with us, as is Wallona's Cave, Freddie P, Pete Strakulich, Roger Perdome, DB, Sean O'Donnell, and Little Britain, as well as W. Forge and Captain Finity, Timey, Wimey, Limey, and Kevin King just popped in also. Very cool. Very cool. Wallona's Cave says it's an hour, not 10 minutes. That's weird because it is set to be 10 minutes. I'll have to go take a peek because, you know, funny enough, I was going to extend it to make it a little bit longer when we had those very negative people commenting on that particular video that they did not like. And then I couldn't change it. And I was like, okay, I'll just leave it as it is then. Scott Pyle is popping on into chat. I believe this might be a first-time visit in chat with us. Says, loves the show. Thank you very much. Welcome aboard. Nice to have you here. So Wallona's Cave said they accidentally unsubscribed and then had to resubscribe, and it took an hour. Huh. Okay. Well, like I said, I will have to take a peek at it, see what's going on with that. So yes, tomorrow night it's going to be a big show, really big shoe, everybody, really big, really big. So hopefully you'll be tuning in because once again, as I mentioned, it's going to be giveaways galore. So yes, Scott says it is the first time they have an opportunity to join us. Very nice, very cool. Welcome aboard. All right, let's dive on into the new. Well, actually, you know what? I forgot to tell you what we're going to take a peek at tonight. See, that's what happened. As soon as I got my tongue caught, I was like, what the hell's going on? We're going to be diving on in and taking a first look at 2001 or 2001, depending on how you like to pronounce it, A Space Odyssey, the board game from Maestro Media. So that is what we will be taking a peek at. But of course, we are going to tackle the tabletop gaming news first. If you are tuning in specifically to see that unboxing, 35 minutes, maybe 40 till we get to that. So if you're watching live, just kick back, relax. If you're watching after the fact, use the timestamps in the show notes or in the timeline of the video, depending on the device you might have to be watching this on. Kevin R. Smith is also jumping on in. Pete Strakowitz says they decided not to back the Invincible Overlord. Feels like we're paying for Judges Guild's bad business. Besides, 200 is a lot. Rather put that towards Lamentations of the Flame Princess Disastrum. That game's creator's got his own. I don't know. I don't know them personally or anything, but they've got some issues themselves. But still, hey, you know what the reality is? Aren't too many people out there who have a completely blank slate as far as anything like that. Little Britain says they think tariffs are going to shake out a lot of already shaky companies. Yes, we have talked about that in the past as well. You figure just the announcement of the tariffs knocked a few smaller players out. Although Simon, they're in deep doo-doo. They just sold Zombicide to Asmodee, if I remember correctly. That is their biggest IP. So they are really bailing water quickly, I guess. Well, we can talk a little bit about that kind of stuff after the news. So first off, arriving this month for Ruins of Symbaroum 5e is Throne of Thorns 2. And I've got the skinny from Free League Publishing. The capital city of Indaros descending into chaos amid preparations for a royal wedding. Deadly conspiracies that threaten to plunge the Devakar region into all-out war. The most perilous and decisive wilderness expedition in Ambrian history. Experience all of this and more as the epic quest for the legendary Throne of Thorns continues. This book presents the third and fourth episodes of the acclaimed adventure chronicle, The Throne of Thorns, adapted for play with the 5e rule set and the Ruins of Symbaroum setting books. Expect the stakes to be even higher, the competition fiercer, and the darkness abysmal, for the Forest of Devakar is about to awaken. This volume contains 2 full-length adventures, The Darkest Star and Mother of Darkness, for characters of 10th to 14th level. Close to 20 color maps detailing adventure locations in towns, forests, and ruins. Over 60 stat blocks covering non-player characters of different types, monsters, potential allies or adversaries, as well as famous and notorious individuals. A rich collection of handouts to be used during play, offering important information for social challenges and problem solving. Note, this book does require access to the Ruins of Symbaroum core setting books, the Player's Guide, Game Master's Guide, as well as the Bestiary. This 230 plus page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $44.99. It's scheduled to land in stores on June 17th. The PDF is not available as of yet, or it wasn't at least this morning. I'm going to guess the PDF is going to be available on that same date over at Drive-Thru RPG. I'm going to say the price tag is going to be $24.99. Very cool. Very cool. I like the whole Symbaroum setting. It's a pretty cool kind of adventure setting. It's dark, but not grimdark. It's more dark fairy tale, in my opinion, than anything else. I should also mention, if you've been following the spring used game sale over at thegaminggang.com, I actually have the entire run of Ruins of Symbaroum 5e available for sale, including the first volume of Throne of Thorns. Just letting you know. Just letting you know. Moving right along, the print edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Dwarfs Player Guide is arriving in stores next month. I've got the lowdown from Cubicle's 7 Games. Deep within their mountain holds, the dwarfs stand defiant, as unyielding as the cold stone beneath their boots. Explore the rich history of the dwarfs' mountain strongholds and their time-honored traditions in this comprehensive guide for players who want to delve deep into the heart of Karaz Encore. The Dwarf Player's Guide provides everything players need to truly become one of the children of Grungy, packed with exciting new careers, weapons, vehicles, runic magic, and much more. Whether defending your ancestral halls against rampaging orcs and goblins, or seeking redemption through glorious vengeance, the Dwarf Player's Guide is essential for forging a legacy as unbreakable as Gromril itself. It's a comprehensive look at the rich, battle-scarred history of the dwarfs. Exciting new career options include brewer. Yes. Wonder if you have to come from Milwaukee to take on that career. As well as runesmith, they offer unique opportunities for players. Arm yourself with devastating weapons and resilient armor forged in the depths of the Great Halls. Forge potent runes as you learn the ancient craft of runesmithing. There's even a detailed look at the pantheon of ancestors and the legends that dwarves revere and honor to this day. This 144-page hardcover with PDF will carry an MSRP of $39.99 when it arrives in July. The PDF is available right now over at Drive-Thru RPG for $19.99. Cool. We also have the Elf Guide coming soon as well. So I got to be honest, I wish we saw more adventures coming out for Wifrip at the moment. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. DB is asking if anyone's made it to North Texas for that convention. Obviously enough, I haven't. Kevin King's talking about Invincible Overlord, says they didn't like the price. They did back the Castles and Crusades backpack and the Tales of the Valiant Players 2, which you'll actually see news pieces of those tomorrow. Interestingly enough. So, although weirdly enough, I never hear from the Troll Lords anymore. I got to reach out to them again. I sent them an email about a month ago, did not hear anything back. But weirdly enough, every time I share like a news piece from Troll Lord Games, they repost it all over the place on their social media. And they're like, oh, thanks to Jeff McLear for sharing the news. And kind of like, okay, but you guys aren't getting back to me. It's like, what's going on? Kevin R. Smith is with us in chat. I forget if I said hello to him or not. Kathy Evans is popping on in. So is Robert Santon. Welcome aboard. Little Britain says they're taking a break from writing their own OSR rules set. They're up to 85 pages right now. We are going to be playtesting the role-playing game that, if you've seen some of the episodes, where we are creating a fantasy role-playing game. We are going to be playtesting that next time the gang gets together. Yes. All right, moving right along. There is a Monsters, Traps, and DM Tricks bundle over at Humble Bundle by way of Goodman Games, and I've got the deets on the deal. Monsters, Traps, Tricks, and more. Teach an old dungeon master new tricks with the most epic DM bundle yet. Surprise your companions and foes with new techniques, traps, and tactics from hot books and guides. Create your own original campaigns. Get inspired by how to write adventure modules that don't suck. And gain access to a limited quantity supply of Grimtooth's Trapsylvania hardback cover books. Get everything you need to embark on an epic journey together and help support the Trevor Project with your purchase. Now, you can score all 61 role-playing game items on offer, including that aforementioned hardcover copy of Grimtooth's Trapsylvania, for a donation of $40 or more. And it's important to keep in mind, this is not only trap books. This is not just all the Grimtooth's books. There are loads of adventures in here. As you can see, we have the adventure tome. I think volumes 1 and 2 are part of this. And I would say about half of the content is aimed at Dungeon Crawl Classics. That's why I was kind of surprised they mentioned Dungeon Masters, because about 30 of these items are not for 5e, they are for DCC. But still, I guess I understand why they might do that. Maybe get some more eyes on it if they're saying Dungeon Masters as opposed to Game Masters. Roger Perdome says, talking about Trollord Games, they ordered their Castles and Crusades starter set collector's edition back in February. Anyone heard about a date to receive their copy? You know, I thought those were supposed to be arriving. It may have been last month, but I'm pretty sure they are not out yet. Just like, wasn't it somewhere around March that the Foundry edition of Castles and Crusades was supposed to be ready? And as far as I understand, I think it's only the player's handbook that is out at the moment. They're always up to something. I mean, I don't mean shifty. I mean, they're always working on stuff. And you probably realize that Trollord Games does not have a ton of people working there. So I can think of like 6 off the top of my head. And not all of them are in the production of gaming material either. All right, moving right along. Keep in mind, savings don't just end over at Humble Bundle, because Green Ronin Publishing and Bundle of Holding have teamed for a deal on Fantasy Age 2E, and I've got the scoop on the savings. Adventure! This all-new Fantasy Age 2E bundle presents the 2023 second edition of, you guessed it, Fantasy Age, the tabletop fantasy role-playing game based on the adventure game engine from Green Ronin Publishing. With the easy-to-learn, flexible Fantasy Age system, you can create a character in minutes, pull off heroic stunts, cast world-shaking spells from 19 mix-and-match arcana, and fine-tune your campaign with optional peril, daring, fortune, and horror rules. And if you know other age system RPGs like The Expanse, Dragon Age, Cthulhu Awakens, Blue Rose, and Modern Age, well, you already know how to play Fantasy Age. All the basic systems are the same. For just $19.95, you'll get all 7 titles in the Fantasy Age 2E collection, which have a retail value of $88, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete full-color 290-page Fantasy Age 2E core rulebook, plus the second edition Game Master's Toolkit, the virtual tabletop token pack, and the free quick start Techno Fantasy, as well as 3 2E adventures, Lair of the Horned Giant, Menace of the Grave Warrens, and Return to the Valley of the Whispering Titans. These savings will run through June 30th. And it is a great way to introduce yourself to the second edition of Fantasy Age. I have never had an opportunity to take a peek at Fantasy Age, either the first edition or second edition. I have heard good things about it. So there is that. But I can't tell you anything personally about my experience with Fantasy Age because I've never even taken a peek at the books. Kevin R. Smith says they jumped on the bundle even though they have a physical copy of the core book. Yeah, it's a pretty decent deal. I would say, of course, that core book is probably the biggest selling point of that bundle. But seems like it might be just about, well, I don't know. I was going to say just about everything that's out there for second edition. But I think there might be a little bit more out there than just these, 7 offerings, including the virtual tabletop token pack. All right, final news piece. The Chapel of the Maiden of Death on Abbey Road has been abandoned for almost 200 years. And the latest in the Landguard backgrounds has arrived from Raging Swan Press. The home of an extinct order of knights, the place is a monument engraved to the heroic dead who saved Landguard from a plague of undeath. By now, rumors of strange lights and sounds emanating from the building have thrust it back into the limelight. Other folk claim to have seen spectral knights in the vicinity. Just what is going on at the Chapel of the Maiden of Death? Sounds nefarious to start off with. Landguard backgrounds enable a busy game master with minimal effort to customize and stock the presented city location, so it perfectly fits into their campaign. This helps the busy GM to focus on what's truly important for their game. Run a better campaign and have more fun with their friends. You're a GM, you're busy. You want to write your own adventures, but don't have the time to start from scratch, and you don't want to use commercial modules. I don't mind them, but maybe you don't. You want to make your campaign your own. And that's where the Landguard backdrop line comes in. Each Landguard backdrop presents a fully fleshed out and lovingly detailed self-centered locale ready to use as you see fit. Stock the backdrop with smugglers, cultists, thieves, or whatever best suits your campaign. Decide their backstory and gather your players. Landguard backgrounds are intended for play in the city of, you guessed it, Landguard. However, the featured location is relatively self-contained and with minimal effort can easily be modified to fit almost any large town or city. This 15-page PDF can now be had over at DriveThruRPG for $3.75. I always like to see new stuff from Raging Swan Press. Once again, it's a company that I would like to kind of get on board with because, granted, yes, I know a lot of their stuff is only PDF, but they seem to have some pretty interesting lines, like their backdrops, their dressing, like wilderness dressing, dungeon dressing. In fact, I think there is still a bundle of holding running for a few days from Raging Swan Press that has some of their collected dressings releases. So you might want to check that out as well. All right, that is it for the news tonight. We rocked right on through that pretty quickly. So there you have that. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, I don't know, DriveThruRPG, Dungeon Master Guild, Storyteller's Vault, Wargame Vault, any of those One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I will get 5% of that sale, and all that coinage really does add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Of course, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always make a one-time donation by way of PayPal. There's a link in the show notes. Maybe you'd like to buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Yummy. Or if you would like to support the Gaming Gang on a monthly basis, we do have a Patreon. There's a link to that also in the show notes. And I do want to give a shout out to our Patreon members. So those at the $5 level are Gustavo Cavallo, Jason Lawman, Kival, Kevin R. Smith, Marius Smith, Max Apocalypse, Patrick Brandt, RPG Munch, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. Our $10 members are Dan Webb, The Game Cat, Pete Strakulich, Tessie Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And our $25 tier members are The Madman, as well as Agile Monk. Yes. Hey, I forgot to say hello to the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D, if she's lurking in the shadows. See, I'm telling you, when my tongue got all tied, everything went right out the window. It's like all preparation, which I never prepare anyway. It's just like just put together the teleprompter with the news, and that's it. So, but I am saying hello in case Sarah D is watching tonight. She is also one of our chat moderators, by the way. Kevin R. Smith says Raging Swan is literally one guy. So it's pretty easy to get lost in the shuffle. I got to remember if I've even reached out to Raging Swan Press. I may not have. Because the reality is, I don't feel comfortable like knocking on email doors like, anyway. DB says, well, good on him. He's done some good stuff. Yes, Sarah D is hanging out with us tonight as well. So this evening, we're going to dive on in and unbox 2001, A Space Odyssey, the board game from Maestro Media in just a few moments. But before we do that, let's take a look. Make sure I've said hello to everybody who's popped on into chat. I think I have. I don't think anyone has snuck on in. I believe we're okay. I think we're all right. Very nice. Is Tessie Trekkie just popping in now? I guess so. So welcome aboard to Tessie Trekkie. Just missed their shout out. Oh, well. All right, so we are going to dive on in, take a look at 2001 in just a few moments. But, of course, we are going to take a few moments here for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
right, now let's see if we can find first. No, that's not it. No, believe me, it's in there somewhere.
No matter how rough you treat a rebel, it's awfully hard to hurt it. The survey of professional driving schools shows that they use more of our cars than any other kind.
How am I doing? A lot better than yesterday. Turn left.
I can't do it while you're watching me.
Okay, turn left. How does it feel the first time out in traffic, Mr. Moss? Mr. Moss? Mr. Moss? Look out for the truck!
What truck?
Behind the bus!
What bus?
The rebel has held its own against some of the worst drivers in the world.
Should I turn the windshield wiper on?
At this point, it looks like the rebels are going to outlast the teachers.
You're late.
I'm sorry we had a small mishap.
Here are the keys. Here are ours.
Have a nice stay in Millbond.
And you in our city.
Still telling the same story, Josh?
Powers of evil are very strong here. I must leave.
Goblins don't exist. Goblins don't exist.
And remember, they're eating her! Then they're going to eat me! So dizzy.
Kids with a sweet tooth like yours love ice cream.
Delicious. And purified.
I order you for the sacred power of the magic stone. No!
Yes, Troll 2, the worst film ever made. It is what most people consider to be the absolute worst film ever made. I've never watched it. I have never seen it, never had any interest in seeing it. But my God, just that trailer alone, it's sort of like, who can we find who cannot act a lick, and we'll put all of them in this movie. Here's a fun little fact in case you haven't seen it. Even though I haven't seen it, I know this fun little fact. It is called Troll 2. It is not a sequel to Troll, and there are no trolls in the film. They are goblins. Little Britain says, I thought it was Plan 9 from outer space. Well, that was before Troll 2 came along. Captain Infinity says, have you seen The Usual Suspects? That's not the worst film ever. It's all right. Hey, I wouldn't say it's my favorite Gabriel Byrne film by any stretch. It's okay. Kathy Evans says, the movie is bad. I have seen it. Roger Perdome says, the acting was so good. Chris Lundgren's with us in chat, says it's horrible. That's what makes it fun to watch. They actually showed in theaters, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show that I went to see a few times as a midnight movie with some folks I knew. A girl I went to grade school with, actually, when I was in high school, I went with her. Chris Langren says, they own the movie. It's funny as hell. It's terrible. So it's a comedy, and they still have the cult showings. Oh, yeah, it's obviously one of those so bad it's good sort of films. Could you imagine being high watching that? Oh, boy. I don't know if that would put you on a bad trip or what. Tessie Trekkie also points out Plan 9 from Outer Space is good in a so bad it's good way. Yes, I have seen Plan 9 from Outer Space. I have seen Glenn and Glenda. I have seen, is it Bride of the Gorilla? Is that the one with Bela Lugosi? I think it's got a robot. No, wait, no, that's not it. Bride of the Gorilla is Bela Lugosi, but that's not with the robot. The robot is cereal. So Pete Rackledge says, I will watch it high with Chef. Filming an unreliable narration and using it as a twist makes the Bobby Ewing dreaming a season of Dallas look like a documentary. Yes, Robot Monster. That is, yes, Robot Monster is not what I'm thinking of with Bela Lugosi, because Bela Lugosi's not in Robot Monster. Or I'm sorry, isn't it Robo Monster? That's the gorilla suit with the diver's helmet. I think that maybe it is Robo Monster. And yes, Robot Monster is the sequel. Yes. No, DB says that's the robot gorilla. Right. No, I'm talking about it's a huge robot that's got almost like, as odd as this sounds, back in the Warriors, World War II, the sort of caricature of Japanese that they would draw like in comic books, almost where they had like vampire fangs, and this giant robot, it's about like 7-8 feet tall, has a face kind of like that. I can't remember. But no, that is not Bride of the Gorilla. Bride of the Gorilla is just a film. It's a feature film, but all of like 60 minutes in length. Raven's with us in chat. That's it. Thank you, DB. The Phantom Creeps. That's the one with the robot. Very distinctive looking robot, too. Raven says, as horrible as the movie Battlefield Earth was, the novel was much worse. I read that in high school with some of my friends. So for, I think, a couple of years or so, because we were all pretty big readers, we would all read the same book. And, you know, when we were at school, it'd be like, okay, so where did you get to? Oh, I'm at the, okay. And you talk about what was going on up to that point. And I remember Elliot and I were both reading Battlefield Earth, and that book just would not end. It just went on and on and on. And it was like, oh my God, man. And it'd be like, oh, this should be the end, but I can see there's 300 pages to go. So, moving right along tonight, we are going to take a peek inside 2001, A Space Odyssey, the board game from Maestro Media. This is designed by Phil Walker Harding. The game is for 3 to 5 players, ages 10 and up. Plays in around 30 minutes. It is available now. Carries an MSRP of $29.99. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got 2001. Let's get the shrink wrap off of this. Do want to mention the fine folks over at Maestro Media were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. It's important you know that. All right, so let's take a look at the back. Got to say, this box has some heft. If you were watching last week, we actually had a news piece about this, and then Maestro Media was sending me a copy. So I'm like, all right, cool. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. The Discovery 1's mission to Jupiter is on the verge of catastrophic failure. Attempting to shut down the HAL 9000 supercomputer didn't go as planned. HAL is still online, and he's got a new directive. All crew members must be eliminated. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. In this one versus many game, your mission as HAL is too important for crew members to jeopardize. Listen to the crew members' plans, lock them out, and use targeted strikes as you work to shut down these ship's systems before the crew members shut you down. There isn't a single aspect of ship operations that isn't under HAL's control. Team up with your other crew members to take on the HAL 9000, repair the Discovery 1, hide your communications, and use sets of memory terminal cards to shut down HAL before HAL terminates you. W4 asks, what are you doing, Jeff? I don't know. What am I doing? Like doing an unboxing? Oh, wait a second. I get it. W4 just trying to be like, what are you doing, Dave? I was like, W4, aren't you watching the show? Scott Pyle asks, can the silent running board game be far behind? I love that movie. That is an excellent movie. It really is. Look into how they made Huey, Dewey, and Louie operate. Pretty wild. Okay, so we've got a rule book. We've got a couple of punch boards here. Looks like we've got a little game board. Oh, actually, it's not as little as I thought. It's a halfway decent size game board. So, actually, I will actually move back out a little bit. And I think I will turn on the autofocus. Hopefully, the autofocus behaves for us tonight. Roger Perdome says Bruce Dern was amazing in that. Yeah, it's a great movie. A lot of people need to take an opportunity to check it out. All right, looks like we've got quite a bit of stuff in here. We've got some decks of cards, nice little insert. Oh, look, candy. Okay. So first thing we'll do, we'll take a peek at the rule book. I should say the user manual. DB is rocking and rolling. Good to see you once again. So we've got our overview. We've got our content. So we've got our discovery board. We have a monolith standee, door tiles, a HAL marker, 4 system tiles, 5 crew member boards. So one of the crew members will not be used. I would assume each crew member has some special ability available to them. We have a HAL trash card, 36 HAL cards, 1 crew member draw discard trash card, 36 crew member cards, and crew member logic cards, which is what they probably have to use to shut down HAL. Raven says the board game looks like an old school 70s, 80s board game. I don't know. It looks fairly modern to me. We've got our setup. So one player chooses to be HAL. They take the HAL screen. Looks like we've got a little screen that they hide some of their cards behind, probably. Other players are crew members. So, of course, this is a one versus many. So this is showing us our setup. So each of the crew members gets a couple of cards. So each player randomly selects a crew member, and they get the monolith token. Before the crew members realize that HAL is turned on them, Hal enacts a series of protocols for Hal's own preservation. Hal will take multiple turns in a row based on the number of crew members in the game. Then, with the crew members quickly realizing Hal's plot, they begin to work to preserve their lives and the Discovery won. Play will move clockwise amongst the crew members, with Hal taking a turn after each crew member. This continues until either Hal or the crew members win. So if there are 2 crew members, Hal gets to take 4 turns. Wow. It says you can play a higher difficulty level for the crew members by giving Hal an extra turn at the start of the game. So on Hal's turn, that player plays 1 card. They can play either a card from their hand or one of the revealed cards in front of the Hal screen. Played cards will either be placed beside the discovery board, the discard pile, or the trash pile. The face-down Hal discard pile. Yeah, it's a discord pile, Jeff. Yikes. W. Forge says you can win if you remember to cover your lips with your hands. Yes, because Hal can't read your lips that way. The face-down Hal discard pile will form on the discard area and may never be looked through. The face-up Hal trash pile will form next to the Hal trash card. This is open information for all players. Of course, discards are probably reshuffled. Trash cards are removed from the game. So a Hal can play a malfunction card. They can play a door card, which I think is probably going to lock that door or close that door. Play a target card. They choose any crew member. And says I think they're guessing to see if a crew member has a card, a specific card. And if they're correct, the crew member has to discard that. They can play a scan card. The Hal player then chooses any crew member. They must discard 1 crew member card of their choice from their hand. They must reveal the card to all players, including Hal, and then place it face down in the crew member discard pile. There's a lip read card. If a lip read card is ever one of the 3 face-up cards in front of the Hal screen, it is considered active. This means the players may not speak or communicate with each other in any way. They cannot give cards to each other. This continues until a crew member plays a cancel card to discard the lip read card or the cover mouth with hand card. Crew member turns. They can move up to 2 spaces, any direction. They can give a card from their hand to another crew member if they're in the same space. They can play any number of repair cards that correspond to the system their crew member standee is at. For each card played, 1 malfunction card is removed from beside the system and placed down in the Hal discard pile. Okay, so here's a quick question. Who out there remembers why Hal malfunctions? We also have open door. So that card will allow you to flip the corresponding door tile from the red to the white side. So it's been manually opened and it cannot be closed again. And then we have the cancel card, which allows you to cancel out one of the 3 revealed Hal cards and place it face down in the Hal discard pile. You can play a recover card from your hand and place it face down in the crew member discard pile. Secretly look through the crew member discard pile, choose any card to put in your hand, and disconnect. Play 3 logic cards from your hand to form a sequence. For example, 3, 4, and 5. Note, sequences cannot wrap around from 12 to 1. These cards are placed face up in the crew member trash pile. Move the Hal marker down 1 space. How player must immediately discard one card of their choice, either revealed or not, and then has a smaller hand size for the rest of the game. Because he's dying. Yes, Kevin R. Smith is right on the money. Chris Lundgren's on there too. Yes, W. Forge is on it. Right, because he was programmed by humans to do one thing, and then he's instructed to do something else that conflicts with what he was originally programmed to do. Captain Infinity says, Hal was asked to divide 10 by 3 and multiply the results by 3. This looks kind of cool. This could be kind of fun. Play real quick. I'm curious if we have player elimination. That's what I'm kind of looking for here. So they can also draw cards. That's something else that the crew members can do. And then we have the pod. If you're on the pod space, you may only do one of the following on your turn. Move or take the repair action. This means that if the pod bay doors are closed, open the pod bay doors, Hal. While you are on the pod space, another crew member will have to open them for you. Only one crew member standee may ever be on the pod space at a time. It doesn't look like there's player elimination, which is fine. That's okay. So here's our special abilities for each of the crew members. So end of the game. Hal wins immediately if any 3 systems are terminated or if the life support system is terminated. Crew members win immediately after a 3rd sequence of logic cards is played. Dun, dun, dun. And then we have an example of a repair. We've got our credits. Scott Pyle says 30 minutes. Nice runtime for a board game, depending on the game. Some games, meatier games, I like to run a little more than a half hour. All right, let's take a look at some of the cards. These are the Hal cards. Here's our trash card. Lip read card. Scan. Here's that target. So choose a crew member and name a card. If they have it in their hand, they must discard it. Closing doors. Malfunction for the memory systems. Communication malfunction. Gravity malfunction. Life support. Yep, there you go. Here's our life supports. Cardstock, decent. Kind of pretty much standard board game cardstock. Does not have a linen finish. Should point that out. So situation like this, looks like we got a little bit of boxing on the end of that card. Can't really tell too much from the other side. But if you can see, there's like that little white strip there. Anyway, I was going to say, I always recommend just throw some sleeves on your cards, even if you're using just penny sleeves, which aren't a penny anymore. So here are the crew member cards. This is our trash draw discard card. So here are our sequence cards. Recover cards. Look through the crew member discard pile and take a card of your choice. This is the cancel card where you get to cancel out one of the active Hal cards. Repair card. Open door. Repair memory, repair communications, gravity, and life support. Kevin King says as the oldest surviving member of their family, they think they're the only one to have seen 2001. Hey, they have to get them to watch it first. It's got some, especially considering when it was made, it's got some pretty spectacular special effects. So here's the insert there. Once again, here's our board. Nice cardstock, nice thick cardstock. I got to say, for $30. This seems like a pretty decent game. Of course, I'm going to be busting this out with the gang so I can share a review of it. So there's our gravity, communications, there's the pod bay, the pod life support, memory systems. This is the where we're going to mark down as HAL's being shut down. And of course, we've got the punch boards. This is our monolith, which I'm taking a guess marks the active player. It's going to be my stab in the dark. Here's our standees. These, I think, those are the doors. Yep, those are the door markers. We have a standee of Discovery 1. I'm not sure why, but we do. That's fine. As well as our systems. Oh, so I'm going to take a guess that when HAL plays one of the deactivation cards, you flip this over and then it's like, okay, so this has been shut down. This is going to make things tougher for the players. So, right, so gravity has 2 spaces, and then if it's shut down, crew members can only move 1 space, probably until they repair it. This is the HAL screen. It's pretty nice. And it is treated as well. W. Ford says, Jeff, measure the monolith. See if it's 3:4:5 ratio. Kevin King says, let's see, $30 times 1.45 times whatever next week's tariff is. So these are the astronaut crew member cards. All right, come on. Where's God? Open up. Where's it on this side? Oh, it's further back. I thought I felt it here. I was like, where's the edge? And these are treated the same as this shield here, the screen. So here's your setup, and then this is your essentially a player aid. Very nice. So each of these, like I said, it seems like we've got a decent amount of value in this for a $30 game. Okay, so once again, we've got our decks of cards. We've got our game board. 2 punch boards, our HAL screen, the astronaut cards, as well as our rule book. That is a peek inside 2001: A Space Odyssey, of the board game from Maestro Media. And yes, I will have a review of this in the not too distant future. And then it's like, oh, hey, here's a 10% discount on your next purchase. Like, okay. All right. So that is a peek inside. Like I said, looks pretty interesting. I am intrigued. All right. So what's happening this week? So tomorrow night is live stream 1200. So I was kicking around. Do we just kind of hang out and shoot the shit? Or do we just do a regular show? And then there's also a giveaway extravaganza to celebrate live stream 1200. So I think we're going to actually just do a regular show. as opposed to just, doing it like an AMA or something like that, or, jumping on a topic or something. W. Ford says, Gary Lockwood went from godlike super being to be killed by Hal. Wasn't he Frank Poole? Wasn't that his character? Chris Leonard says, it's his wife's birthday today. Well, a very happy birthday to Mrs. Lundgren. So W. Ford says, wow, congrats on 1,200. Yeah, it's in the title. You always see the number of the episode in the title of every one of the shows. So anyway, tomorrow we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at Paranoia, the core book. This is the latest edition of Paranoia from Mongoose Publishing. Kind of a slim book. I was kind of surprised. I thought this would have a little higher page count, but I guess not. So we're going to dive on in, take a peek at this. I had Paranoia back in the day, and I'm not talking about the game. Yes, I am talking about the role-playing game. I had the original West End Games Paranoia, and it was one of those sort of games, and I actually would pick up adventures in that. I think I ran it once. Yeah, I was one of those sort of gamers, right? I had a disposable income that I just, So I bought a bunch of like Vampire the Masquerade stuff when it first came out. Never ran it. Just would read the splat books and stuff. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Mateo has joined us. Very nice. Welcome aboard. So they missed the unboxing. They'll have to rewatch. Yes, of course. Very cool. Very cool. So anyway, I had the original edition of Paranoia, and it always struck me as a game that seemed like it would be more entertaining to read the adventures and probably a lot trickier to run. Chris Leonard asked what I thought of 2010, the movie. I liked it. I saw it in the theaters when it first came out. So, yes, W. Ford said Gary Mitchell on Star Trek. That I knew. And, yeah, I thought his character was Frank Poole. I thought that's who he played. Kevin R. Smith says it was hilarious to read through. Yeah, that's the impression I always got, that it was pretty entertaining to read through as the game master. Probably a bit trickier to pull that off at the game table. And it's like most things when you try to be funny, when you go out of your way to try to be humorous and you are not, a stand-up comedian or anything like that, probably doesn't work out that well. Whereas if you try to play it serious and just play, the outrageousness of it seriously, then I would think it probably comes across as being pretty funny. Chris Leonard says they played it, loved it. Yeah, like I said, it struck me as one of those kind of games where you had to be a good GM to pull it off. Chris Leonard's pointing out Star Frontiers did a 2001 module. Yes, they did a 2010 module as well, because I ran them. I mentioned that last week when we were doing the news piece about 2001 A Space Odyssey, the board game, that I had those modules for Space Frontiers and ran them for Elliot's sadly late nephew, Paul. And I still remember it. He did pretty well. He did pretty well because I just ran it one-on-one. Kevin R. Smith says 2010 didn't age well because of the ham-fisted shoehorning of real-life Cold War politics into the future. Yes, I understand that. W. Ford said they read 2061, was disappointed in it. I never did. I got to be honest, I don't think, or at least I don't recall, ever reading any Arthur C. Clarke, or maybe I started reading Rendezvous at is it Rama, something like that. And it didn't click. Just like I was never an Isaac Asimov fan. So, and it's not that I dislike hard science fiction, because I always liked Larry Niven. One of my all-time favorite science fiction books is The Mote in God's Eye. Isn't that Jerry Purnell and Larry Niven? My God, I was probably 18 when I read that. That's the last time I even probably thought of that. Kevin King says, by the time his wife was on clone number 4, she was ready to kick his behind. Yes, Chris Leonard's talking about how he hated the Thomas Covenant series. Yeah, I read it. I read the first 6. I did not read the last, I think it's a trilogy, because it kind of wore out its welcome with me too. But the first trilogy I really liked. So, and I guess, didn't Stephen R. Donaldson also do a science fiction series? I think I tried checking out the first book one time. There we go. Kevin King says Clark's writing is as dry as the Sahara. That's why I didn't. And, and the funny thing is, the reality is that back in the 70s, early 80s, science fiction writing was pretty dry. So Chris Lundgren says the Piers Anthony books were weird with all the puns. Well, that was that series. He wrote other stuff that wasn't like that. The Xanth series, isn't that? I read, I think, the first 5 of those, but I started reading those. I was probably a freshman in high school when I started on those, because yes, I used to hang out in bookstores all the time. Kevin R. Smith says, yep, it's the gap cycle. That's what I thought. I thought he did a science fiction series too. W. Ford says, Childhood's End is okay. A Fall of Moon Dust is a nice disaster novel. Chris Lundgren says they like Terry Brooks. Funny enough, a lot of people really dislike Terry Brooks. I don't know. Yes, okay. Sword of Shannara is pretty much in lockstep with the Lord of the Rings. I get it. I understand. He's also the author of a book I threw across the room. Those of you in the know remember that story. I thought he was fine. I thought he was all right. I think for what I run across, people complain that he's a hack. Then again, there are a lot of people out there who felt Robert Jordan was a hack. So it's like, everybody's got their taste. Everybody's got their taste. I was always a fan of Harry Harrison. I liked Harry Harrison's books. I enjoyed the Stainless Steel Rat series of books. Enjoyed that quite a bit. His West of Eden series was good. I always thought he was a pretty solid writer. Fred Saberhagen, I enjoyed his Swords trilogy. I don't recall reading the next Swords series, because I think he did a trilogy and then he did another trilogy. And I know I read the first, I know he read the first series. W. Forge asks, what about the Lensman novels? I've read 2 of the Doc Smith Lensman books. They were fine. They were okay. They were more of the 50s, science fiction pulp magazine sort of style to them. Of course, I'm a huge fan of Fritz Leiber. I love Gray Mouser and Fofford. Those of you who watch this know that already. But as far as like modern authors, Joe Abercrombie, we've talked about him a little bit. That I did get the audiobook for his new book, The Devils, and I haven't finished it because it just about halfway through, it just seems like it's just kind of on repeat. And it's almost as if he's focusing more on just kind of clever repartee or wisecracks than like developing the characters. Something else in The Devils that kind of turned me off a little bit. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad book. I'm just saying I paused it for a bit. Was he'll do an action sequence, which, in my opinion, Joe Abercrombie does some really good, fantasy action. But he's got these multiple characters. They're kind of a band of misfit monsters, essentially. And it's like every one of them has to have their own POV in what's going on. So it's like, okay, so it was kind of a short skirmish and it took up 200 pages. It's like, my God, man, I don't need to have every single character get like what's going on with them during this fight. So Kevin R. Smith says they've got a copy of a Lensman Omnibus somewhere they need to read. If I remember correctly, I think the first Lensman's book or Lensman book was kind of a little different. It was almost like it was a standalone book, whereas the other three sort of do tie together a bit. Maybe I'm misremembering that. Chris Leonard says they remember a series of books where role-playing game players meet a real wizard, take into a real fantasy world. Many of them die. Can't remember the title. Isn't the author's first name Guy or Guy? I think that's, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's 2 books. And it was another that I tried to check out, and I listened to the audiobook. And you got to realize, if you're listening to an audiobook, there you go. Thank you, Roger Perdome. I think it's pronounced Guy. I don't think it's Guy. Gabriel K. Yeah, well, thought I remembered, but I think it was one of those sort of audiobooks where the narrator just wasn't doing it for me. So, but yes, I know the series that Chris Leonard's talking about and that Roger Perdome has pointed out. It's the Fionavar Tapestry. And I guess he is a fellow Canadian. He is a pretty well-known author. I think he also does some, I don't want to say historical novels, but I think they're like historical fiction that he's done. Man says they remember reading the Belgariad books by David Eddings back in the day. Yes. You know what series I always liked? I was one of these kind of shared anthology fans. So Thieves World was one that we all my friends and I, pretty sure Scott, who pops into chat from time to time, our friend Daryl, our friend Tim, my best friend Elliot Miller, and we were all reading the Thieves World books. You know, it's kind of funny. I think of back when, we were like in our early teens, mid-teens, how excited we would get with, did you see the latest Hitchhiker's Guide book came out? oh, we're at the store. It's like, dude, look. Don't kind of encounter that excitement anymore. At least I don't. But yeah, I read David, I'm trying to remember if it was David Eddings or if it was somebody else. They did a trilogy, and it was a pretty popular book series, but it was another one of these very, very similar to Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. And it was sort of like, like the main character is kind of a halfling sort of character. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. Chris Leonard says, you remember getting excited at the school book fair. I remember being in grade school and we would get the Scholastic. I don't even think it was Scholastic, but it was the little kind of like monthly catalog of books, kids' books that you'd order. And I remember, ordering stuff, and then there'd be the day that the books would show up and be like, ooh, oh boy, here they are. Beats Dracula says, I still get that excitement right here with the gaming gang. Oh, I don't know about that. All right. So anyway, on tomorrow's show, it will be live stream 1200. There's going to be a giveaway extravaganza. And we are also going to take a look at Paranoia, the core book. Just want to make sure that it did say the core book. It does say the core book from Mongoose Publishing. Nice. And then Thursday, there will not be a show. So we will pick up with live stream 1201 a week from tonight. So only 2 episodes this week. I just thought, episode 1200, kind of, yay, big celebration. Well, not big celebration, but yeah, a celebration. And then it'd be kind of like, a little anticlimactic the next night to be going, oh. So Sarah D says she might be late to the party tomorrow night. She's got a union meeting about contract negotiations. Yes. All the best with that, Sarah. All right. That is it for this time out. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, a much bigger thank you. And speaking about watching live, be sure to be watching live tomorrow, because you must A, be a subscriber to the channel, and B, be watching live tomorrow night to be part of the giveaways. As Mark Hawkswell was with us in chat, did not see Mark pop on in. Sorry I didn't say hello to you earlier. But anyway, if you watch live, thank you very much. If you watch live and took part in chat, bigger thank you, because not only are you keeping me company, also keeping each other company as I'm taking a peek on through various RPG games and tonight's unboxing of 2001, A Space Odyssey, the board game. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Really do appreciate you taking time out to watch any of the over 2,200 videos here on the channel. Much appreciated. Of course, if you have not subscribed to the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to do that. If you do subscribe, don't forget, you want to ring that bell, because ringing that bell not only lets you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. I'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent reviews of Outgunned from Two Little Mice and Free League Publishing, as well as Call of Cthulhu, the Sutra of Pale Leaves, Twin Suns Rising from Sons of the Singularity and Chaosium Inc. Yes. All right, everyone. Be sure to join me tomorrow night for live stream at 1200. Thank you very much for watching this stream. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.